Today we're going to be talking about my 5th grader's personal reading list. Let's start with mystery. For her mystery book, I'm going to be having her read The Mysterious Howling. Okay, if you are looking for a good audiobook, hands down, man, Mysterious Howling wins every time. And she struggles a little bit with reading comprehension. So this is a book that I'll have her play on her stereo and she can read along with it. She's tying 2 skills together, auditory and visual, as she's reading, and that will help with her comprehension. For fantasy, I'm going to be having her read Redwall, another fantastic audiobook, and this is also really good for young boys. So if you have a 5th grader boy, definitely hook them up with Redwall. The audiobook is phenomenal and the writing is very good, and it's a huge series, so it's something that boys and girls can dive into and then just expand on the journey. For science fiction, I'm going to be having her read Artemis Fowl. Artemis Fowl was a book that I read at about her age. It's a great mesh of mixing magical fantasy kind of genre with science fiction, and this boy is kind of harnessing magic to create his inventions. For science nonfiction, I'm going to be having her read Who Was Albert Einstein? For some kids who can read nonfiction super easily, you just pick up any kind of DK book or whatever and just have them go at it. For my 5th grader, she doesn't go quite as easily into nonfiction. I kind of have to draw her in. Doing it in biography style, I think, is a great way of doing it. And Albert Einstein is one of those who struggled in school, but turns out to be brilliant because he didn't fit the box. And I love introducing that idea over and over to my kids, that you don't have to fit in a box. You can, be outside the box. For historical fiction, I'm going to be having her read The Big Wave. This is by Pearl S. Buck. And Pearl S. Buck is one of my favorite adult authors. I love the way she captures Asian culture, and all of her books have just meant so much to me growing up. And so to have my kids read her children's book that she wrote is just, it gives me warm fuzzy feelings. Beautifully written and absolutely worth it for a 5th grader. 5th grade year is kind of when I'm introducing World War II history and kind of those bigger, heavier themes. So she's going to be reading Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, who is just also one of my favorite authors. I love Lois Lowry. And I love how gentle it introduces something that's very difficult. Is easing your child into something that is hard to understand and comprehend, but important to talk about. So Number the Stars is a great way to bring that history in. I'm also going to be having her read Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. These books are beautiful. It's a series. I've only read Roll of Thunder, and I read it when I was a child, and I've also read it again as an adult. And it is beautifully written, very much capturing the history and the time period of that era, talking about racial discrimination and what schools were like, and sharecropping, and kind of more difficult subjects without being super heavy. I mean, it's very age appropriate for a 5th grader, and it's a great way of introducing that time period and talking about it. And so that'll prepare her for more middle school themes without, just jumping them on her. Know what I mean? I'm also going to be having her read Island of the Blue Dolphins. This is actually based on a true story, which I did not know until I was much older. Scott Odell has written a bunch of Native American stories, but I think Island of the Blue Dolphins is one of my favorites. It's about an Indian girl who is stranded on an island, and she has to survive until she is rescued many years later. It's beautifully written, and it's well worth the read for a 5th grader. I'm also going to have her read Courage to Run. Now, this is a new series. I don't remember who mentioned it. It might have been Megan from Pennies and Salt who recommended it, but this is a beautiful read. I love it. So it's about Harriet Tubman as a young slave. But what I love most about this book is that it shows her Christian faith and how it kept her lifted up despite such harrowing and difficult circumstances. And it doesn't shy away from those. I mean, you still hear and talk about, I also love the music that's interwoven in this book. It really just captures the essence of it. Beautiful book, and there's a series, so I'm probably going to be looking through the rest of the books, and if she goes through this list fast, then I might pull some more from that book series. All right, so for fiction, I'm gonna be having her read Stargirl. Stargirl is kind of a 5th, 6th grade read. It's kind of in that middle ground. I don't think it's gonna be difficult for her to read, but the themes in it are a little bit harder. It's about a middle school girl who up to this point has been homeschooled and now is transitioning to public school and dealing with that kind of mess. It's such a great book about individuality and not giving in to the masses and just staying strong to who you are. This was one of my favorite books growing up. It made a real impact on me, and I'm excited for Abby to read this book. I'm also going to be having her read Whale Song. So Whale Song is a relatively new book. I just read it maybe 2 years ago, and it is a phenomenal read about differences and belonging and encouragement and like doing things. That's what this book is about. It's about not waiting to do things. It's you as a child can still make a difference in this world. And I love that theme. It's a beautifully written book. I'm also going to be having her read Bridge to Terabithia. So this book like pulls at my heartstrings. I bawled like a baby when I read this the first time. I think about Abby's age. And then I had Caroline read it, my oldest, read it when she was in 5th grade, and she bawled like a baby too. Just so you know, this is a book that hits you hard. It hits you hard. But it is beautifully written. And I love that it inspires such strong, true emotion. And that's important for young readers to experience, that books can move them in ways that they don't expect. I'm also going to be having her read Tuck Everlasting. This is great classical literature. It is a phenomenal book. It's also a great movie, so I'm excited to do maybe a little movie night with her on this. I also have my kids read Hatchet. This is another good classical literature about a young boy who is living out in the wilderness. It's kind of like My Side of the Mountain, so if you've had a child that's read that book and they really loved it and enjoy it, they will love Hatchet. I'm also going to have her read Shiloh because it's a story about a dog. It's also another pull at your heartstrings kind of story. So tread with care, tread with care. In addition to these books, she will also be reading the book list with Lightning Literature. It's her coursework, and if you are interested in seeing that, I'll have a link box up here. Who was my teacher in 5th grade? Let's see. It was Mrs. Murphy. She was my 5th grade teacher, and she was pregnant. Halfway through the year, she had to go and leave and had a baby. Hi, Miss Murphy.